We're going to talk about artboards, what they are, how to manipulate them, why you would use them. This is the artboard panel. This is where you can bring up under Window, under the menu, if you can't see the artboard panel. This is the artboard tool. Then we'll talk a little bit about the artboard option bar at the top. Okay, so a quick overview. The artboard tool is Shift-O. You can click and drag to create new artboards. You can hold Alt and make copies of artboards. You can click the New button up here and then click and make artboards. To delete artboards, you can click on the X. You can click on the trash can in the options bar, or you can click on the trash can in the artboards palette. You can resize artboards by grabbing the edges of the bounding box, like that, or you can come in here and you can type in and hit return and it will do that, or you can bring up the menu and you can type that in here as well, or when creating a new document you can choose the number of artboards that you have, the order that those artboards go in, the space that you have in between those artboards, and the size of those artboards are going to be the size of your document. Okay, if that made sense to you, you can stop the video now. If not, I'm going to go into further detail. So to start out, artboards are workspaces. They can be any size, they can be multiple pages. Notice that each one of these artboards can be activated when you click on it. And it will show you which one is active. You can double click and rename them. If you double click, it will jump to that artboard. You can reorder these. So if I wanted to come in here and I wanted to say, so that's the main page. Now if I wanted the T to be first, and I can click on that, that's artboard 6. I can click and drag, and I can put artboard 6, or T, first. Now when I export that as if a multiple page PDF, that is now going to be first. You can do the same thing by clicking on one of these and using the arrows to move it up or down. You can also create a new artboard or delete an artboard. So if we didn't want this artboard in there, I can click on this little X when I'm in the artboard tool over here, or I can just press the trash can, or I can just actually click delete. Okay, so let's start with the option bar up here to explain what artboards are. When you click Shift-O or click on this button over here in your toolbar, it will bring up your options bar. You have a bunch of presets. These are different sizes for different devices or papers or outputs. This is portrait. Notice that it goes vertical. This is landscape. This will create a new artboard. So you can click that button and then put that anywhere. This will delete an artboard. It deletes the active artboard. So notice that I know that this one is active because it has the dotted line. If I was over here, then this would be active. I'm going to come back to the Move Copy Artboard button in a moment. So in your artboards, you can have this crosshairs by clicking this button or unclicking this button. You can have lead-ins to the crosshairs. That's going to show the center of that. You can even have video safe and title safe. Notice the green that shows you for video output. This brings up a menu that gives you artboard options. Notice that this is the Show Center Mark, which is this button. This is the Show Crosshairs, which is this button. This is the Show Video Safe Areas, which is this button. This will fade. Notice the outside. Fade the outside or not fade the outside. And you have your presets here as well. You can type in here or here specific amounts. So if I wanted to come over here and I wanted something that was actually 1200 pixels wide and 500 pixels tall, and I can type that in and notice that the artboard adjusts accordingly. Now, if I have my artboard tool, I can also do a lot of these things on the fly. So notice that the tool changes. This is what the tool looks like when it's not hovering over something. But if I hover over one of these edges or on the inside of an artboard, it changes. This is going to adjust the edge. Okay, if I'm on the top or the bottom, it will adjust the top or the bottom. If I'm on one of these corners, I can do both of those together. If I would like to get rid of it, I can click on this delete X right here. It will get rid of it. If I want to highlight something and have it wrap around just something that's highlighted, I can just click on that thing and it'll create an artboard right around that. And then you can also just click and drag. If I wanted to come over here and make a duplicate copy, so I'm just going to click on this background. It creates an artboard. I'm going to name this artboard iPhone. If I want to make a duplicate copy of everything that's going on in here, then I just hold Alt. Notice I get my double arrow that's telling me that I'm going to make a copy of this as I drag it. I'm going to drag it over. If I hold Shift, then it drags that in a straight line. Now, it made an exact copy of this artboard, down to the exact same size. If I want to copy what's inside of this artboard, that's when I come over here and click the Move Copy Artwork with Artboard. If that is clicked, then it will drag everything over with it. Now you have to be a little bit careful with this because, for example, if you have an artboard and it overlaps just a little bit like this and you want to make a copy of that, it will make a copy of anything that is even partially contained within that artboard. Alright, now we're going to switch over to just this iPhone document. Notice on my artboard, I have one artboard at the moment. I'm actually going to pull the artboard palette out so that you can see the artboards and the layers at the same time. Notice that we have a lot of objects. If I were to expand these, all of this stuff, there's quite a bit going on there. Okay, so the layers operate independently of the artboards. Okay, let me show you what I mean. I'm going to make a copy of this. I'm going to get out my artboard tool. I'm going to make sure that my Move Copy Artwork with Artboard button is depressed so that it will copy everything over. And I'm going to copy that over like that. Okay, now I have two copies of everything. And I'm going to call this second. I'm going to call this main. Okay, now if I double click on main, it goes here. If I double click on here, it goes here. Now, everything is in exactly the same position. So if I wanted to come in here and turn the light on, now let's make another copy. Holding Alt and Shift while I drag, now I have an additional copy. So when I click on this, okay, so now see what happens. We'll call this third. There it's off, there it's on, there it's got a red light, and we'll make one more copy. Artboard tool by pressing Shift-O, hold Alt, drag over while I'm holding Shift. And I'm going to use this mask here to mask this object. So I'm going to take this object, or this little image, as if it's being shown on the phone. I'm going to drag it underneath my mask, highlight my mask. We'll talk about masking a little bit later. And now it looks like it's right there on the phone. Now, so I have all of these. If I were to save as PDF, that's fine for now. Okay, now let's go open that up. Now as I flip through the different pages, notice nothing moves because everything is in the exact same spot. So I can flip through these pages. So this is a great way to show variations on a logo, or if you want to show this is what this particular thing would look like in red, or this is what this particular thing would look like if I were to change these options. You can make multiple copies, export it as a PDF, send that to your client, and you're good to go. Now for the sake of understanding, I'm going to rearrange these artboards and come over here and show the different pages of the PDF. So here we see the PDF, and here we see the artboards in Illustrator. So notice that each artboard has exported as a page. That's how that works. You can also do one more thing, and I'll also show you one more thing. If you just want one of these pages, and you want to do like a web optimized JPEG or something. Save for web. You can choose the size or whatever. We'll go over this a little bit later, but you can save a specific artboard, okay, and that is just a JPEG of that single artboard. Okay, so to review the artboard tool is Shift-O. You can click and drag to create new artboards. You can hold Alt and make copies of artboards. You can click the New button up here and then click and make artboards. To delete artboards, you can click on the X. You can click on the trash can in the options bar, or you can click on the trash can in the artboards palette. You can resize artboards by grabbing the edges of the bounding box like that, or you can come in here and you can type in and hit return and it will do that, or you can bring up the menu and you can type that in here as well, or when creating a new document you can choose the number of artboards that you have, the order that those artboards go in, the space that you have in between those artboards, and the size of those artboards are going to be the size of your document.